Good afternoon, Internet. My name is Morph, and welcome to KTF versus Oz. Set for the score is currently 2-1 in favour of Oz, but KTF have their big hitter. They have brought out the ultimate weapon. 1 moment 0. That is right, the ultimate weapon, Flash. Thankfully, for the ease of confusion in this Terran versus Terran mirror match, Flash is once again in red, and his opponent is fOrGG in white. Now, some of you may be thinking, hang on, what the hell is Oz thinking? For a start, fOrGG is a Zerg sniper. He is supremely skilled against Zerg, far more than he is in the other matchup. And in fact, hang on, isn't Terran fOrGG's worst matchup, TVT? Well, you'd be right about that, Internet, but the thing is, sometimes it doesn't come down to the raw statistics, because Flash is 69% in Terran versus Terran. It's Flash's most favoured matchup, so of course Flash is going to be the favourite for this. He's going to be the favourite pretty much no matter what, unless, you know, I don't know, get bloody... I'm not going to say, I was going to say someone, I think you know who I was going to say, but I'm not going to give that guy any more hype than he deserves. But the thing is, fOrGG has already beaten Flash, so it's not just about a number on a piece of paper, Internet. It's more than that. It's the fact that, once again, this was the same point I was trying to make with Lomo, that fOrGG has not only beaten Flash in the case that Lomo had also beaten Flash, fOrGG has actually stomped Flash on occasion, okay? So he definitely has that skill, and he just needs to pull it back out. Excuse me, Internet, a little coughy there. So I definitely think that we could see Oz take this. You know, if we see Oz get taken down, then you know, KTF are, if we see Flash taken down, then KTF are not going to have a lot of response. You know, for a start, with fOrGG up there, they're not going to be able to put forward a Zerg player at all, because fOrGG will just bite their head off and then spit it down their throat. But I don't suppose you could bite someone's head off and then spit it down their throat. They wouldn't fit. Okay. Bite their head off, rip open their chest, and then spit it into their open chest cavity. There you are, Internet. There's, you know, people have been talking about colour throughout this, throughout the Commentator Idol competition, and there's some colour for you there. No, this isn't a Commentator Idol submission. I'm doing this just for the funsies. Actually, I think it was particularly interesting that people talked about colour so much in the first few weeks, and there was a poll recently on SC2GG about what was most important in a commentator, and colour received 0 votes in that, which just tickled me. And to be honest, it wasn't really that fair of a poll, because I think it was actually Mr. Smiley who pointed this out. I think it might have been someone else. I apologise if I'm wrong, but you know, the things were like a lot of the things that were pointed out as other criteria in the poll were actually all just things that come together to produce colour. You know, I think colour is important. I just think colour became a sort of buzzword throughout the early stages of Commentator Idol. So I think people just got slightly sick of it and turned off to the idea of colour. So there you go. I just think the word got overused, and that's why we've had the contest go in the direction that it has. I have spoken to Collar actually, and he says that it's going to be a lot more upbeat this week. You know, I mean, it was, especially for me personally, Internet. I mean, I know I did some pretty extreme things, but actually, if you go on the sc2gg.com forums and go in the commentator section and look in the Morph thread, I actually wrote a pretty in-depth post about why I used vile language, because I was trying to make a point about what's considered the acceptable lexicon, and I know I didn't explain myself very well in the Idol results episode, but nevertheless, I'm repeating myself. You can read it in the thread there. Check it out. You should always go to the SC2GG forums anyway, because they're absolutely amazing. Check out the IRC as well, because there are just some absolutely hilarious discussions in there that just come from absolutely out of nowhere. And anyway, getting back to the game, neither players going for anything crazy, no fast starports, pretty much mirror builds going on. We've got the armory going up for fOrGG, moving out with a few forces maybe trying to get some form of a soft contain. Flash as well, moving out, but that one siege tank is, you know, probably just for posturing rather than trying to actually get any kills at this stage. Once again, still a bit of a tickly cough there, internet. This is Rush Hour 3, by the way. If you don't know, always the space tile set, you tend to see quite a lot of choke points created by the little all the little gaps between the different platforms. You get what I mean, internet. You always do. Well, you don't always do, but you do enough for my hideous commentating skills to pass as acceptable. So a few mines there on the ramp, really slowing down Flash's progression. But he's got some SCVs there, so if he wanted, he could just pile the tanks into the mines and then prepare them straight away. But obviously, that's just going to slow down his flow, and it takes up a few actions. So this is Flash's second game going into this matchup. If he takes this, he will re-equalise it to 2-2. If fOrGG takes this, it will become 3-1, and therefore there will be only one win left. And with then Flash taken out the roster, that will be not good for KTF at all. So I am still very much hopeful for the forces of Oz. To be honest, internet, you know, I really think that they could take this, but I would probably say that their real hopes lie in this matchup, because, you know, Flash is definitely able to perform consistently, and he's definitely able to avoid fatigue. So fOrGG going in for the expansion now, because obviously Flash, it was a reasonably long matchup, set 3, but nevertheless I think Flash now moving in with the Vultures, actually getting past the blockade, moving in, getting a couple, no, not really that many SCV kills. You know, you really need to focus far with those 3 Vultures if you want to get any sizable amount of kills in the early stages with those Vultures. Now we have Flash's expansion going up, fOrGG's barracks there, able to get round to have a look inside Flash's base, just see what his ratio between the building of more factories and the building of tech buildings is, just to get an idea what kind of a vibe it is that Flash is going for. SCV transfer there, bringing them on to his new expansion. So both players have taken their natural with little worry at all. As you saw, Flash did get the little vulture run by in and managed to score a couple of SCV kills, but I don't think fOrGG is going to sweat it that much. So neither player have really made a big impact. A little bit of vulture on vulture action now coming in. Both vultures going in. There are some siege tanks with Flash there, so if he can get those in position, this little vulture force will be crushed by Flash. I haven't seen the academies yet. I have seen armories, but not academies. No, there isn't a comsat station at either natural expansion. Let's see at the mains. So no, there is finally the fOrGG academy going up. So soon we will be seeing some scans, internet. And so those vulture mines will be much less advantageous. I mean, once again, when you're doing this kind of slow push as the Terran, you're not really going to be hurt by the mines as such, but they just slow you down so much, and especially when you've got SCVs in the area. So fOrGG trying to take some terrain advantage, getting some siege tanks up on the ridges, just trying to take some map control, which is also very wise in TVT, because it's all about, you know, generally speaking, whoever is the one who moves into the siege tanks will be the one to go down, you know. As Chill said when he was the commentator I was judge, you know, unit composition is one thing, but generally speaking in TVT, it's much more about positioning of those siege tanks. Although my personal opinion of TVT, although I completely agree with that, so Vulture's trying to go in, but quite rightly trying to find a different route in that isn't protected by siege routes. My opinion of TVT, in fact, I think one of the most essential thing about TVT, we do have the comsats up now, is actually not making it all about siege tanks, because if you're making it a siege tank war, either one, you're going to be the guy who moves into the siege tanks, in which case, boom, you're dead, or two, you're basically just running the risk that you know, you're just putting all your bets on having better macro than your opponent. And you know, I personally don't like to do that sort of thing. If I ever play Terran, in a versus Terran matchup, I always try and make it not about the not about the tanks. And if you look at the Lomo versus Flash from the previous set here, that's exactly what Flash did. He had good vulture harassment, he had those wraiths for some economy harassment, and he had the dropship for getting right in on the base. So although Flash still used siege tanks, as of course any Terran should in a TVT, I'm not saying don't use siege tanks. Little Voltron Vulture Skirmish, Flash clearly has more, so it goes to him.